So last week, the US and Israeli governments tried to send in their own aid distribution group into Gaza, and it didn't go very well. Based on this article from BBC, as we see here, crowds overrun US-backed group's new aid distribution site in Gaza. Thousands of Palestinians have overrun an aid distribution site in Gaza set up by a controversial US and Israeli-backed group a day after it began working there. Video showed crowds walking over torn-down fences and earth berms at the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation's compound in the southern city of Rafah. The group said at one point its team fell back because the numbers seeking aid were so great. The Israeli military said troops nearby fired warning shots. The GHF, which uses armed American security contractors, aims to bypass the UN as the main supplier of aid in Gaza, where experts have warned of a looming famine after an 11-week Israeli blockade that was recently eased. The UN said the videos from Rafah were heartbreaking and that it had a detailed plan ready to get enough aid to the desperate population of 2.1 million. The UN and many aid groups have refused to cooperate with the GHF's plan, which they say contradict humanitarian principles and appear to weaponize aid. Yeah, because the fucking aid is being distributed by two governments who are genociding a population, the same population they are trying to give aid to, and the process with it is not very smooth at all. It is a very tedious process, not just in like they do like ID checks and shit like that, but just like to get there too. Like as it's pointed out here, they have warned that the system will practically exclude those with mobility issues, force further displacement, expose thousands of people to harm, make aid conditional on political and military aims, and set an unacceptable precedent for aid delivery around the world. As we see here, this is kind of like what it shows here. Like these arrows are the distribution centers that this organization has put out, and they're all kind of in the same area of Rafah. Like there's none down here, they're all just here. That's it. So like if you're in like this southern part and there's like part down here, you're not going to be able to easily access this center unless you make the tedious walk over there. And let's say your legs were fucking blown off by an IDF missile, it's gonna make it a lot harder, I would imagine. And we know how just fucking bad this whole system is being worked out from this article here by Dropsite News. Israel's weaponized aid plan forces thousands of Palestinians to trek miles and risk their lives for meager boxes of food. Like hundreds of thousands of Palestinians in Gaza, Mohammed Salim was desperate for food. The 42-year-old father of 5 has been fighting to keep his family from starving throughout the entire 3-month full-spectrum blockade Israel imposed on Gaza on March 2nd. On Tuesday, in Al-Mism, I don't know how to pronounce a lot of these, so my bad if I mispronounce them, in Al-Masali, west of Khan Younis, in the shelter for forcibly displaced people where he and his family had been living, word spread that food parcels had arrived in Gaza, but to collect one he would need to walk more than 4 kilometers, 2.4 miles over harsh terrain, the rubble-strewn streets and sand-covered roads that dot the decimated landscape of Gaza, caused by constant Israeli bombings and targeted demolition. In the early morning hours, Salim set off by foot on the arduous journey south to a new aid distribution center run by the Israeli and US-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation located in the Al-Halam neighborhood of Tel al-Sultan in western Rafah, an area under the control of Israeli occupation forces. When I arrived at the site, I saw hundreds of people lining up in the front of the iron gates, surrounded by security forces topped with surveillance cameras, Salim told Dropsite News. The entry process was strict, starting with ID checks and ending with an eye scan, which significantly slowed down access. And as it stated later here, they did experience delays, like it says here. However, it added Palestinians had expressed several hours of delays in accessing one site due to blockades imposed by Hamas. Now, this could be another site from where this guy went, but it might be due to this rigorous check that there were probably delays in people getting aid. However, and even here it says there's no proof that there was blockades imposed by Hamas, other than Israel just saying so. As Salam waited his turn in the morning heat, masses of people continued to descend on the site. The GHF distribution hubs are guarded by armed private security contractors working for a U.S. company and surrounded by chain link fences channeling Palestinians into tight enclosures surrounded by sand berms. Veteran aid officials across the UN and other international humanitarian aid organizations have denounced the program, describing the conditions as resembling concentration camps or ghettos. And you definitely get that from this image here. Look, if this was like in black and white, people would literally think this is like from World War II, but not. No, it's literally like right in front of our fucking eyes. This like sense of like cattling the victims of this genocide, and the perpetrators are literally on the other side doing this. It is fucking disgusting. It's gross. They're treating them like animals, making them go through these tedious, exhaustive fucking like security checks for no reason for meager boxes of food. And look, you know, any food is better than no food, but still, it's going through all this work that doesn't need to be the case if Israel just did not impose their blockade and would allow aid to be easily accessible. But no, they make it difficult on purpose. And they're doing this on purpose too. As the crowd swelled, people began pushing toward the gate and broke through the fence by force, causing the security personnel to flee. The entire scene descended into chaos as people rushed toward the stacked aid parcels in a desperate attempt to grab whatever they could. I was lucky I managed to grab 2 food parcels amidst the chaos. Like, surprise, surprise. Like, surprise, surprise. People who are desperate for food are going to be desperate. Especially when you do, like, this long, tedious fucking background check shit that doesn't matter. The hungry crowd stormed the center and seized aid and equipment, including tables, chairs, and even small trees, which were uprooted to be used as firewood due to Israel's ban on fuel and cooking gas. As the facility was overrun, forces opened fire on the crowd. As people tried to leave with whatever they had taken, Israeli helicopters flew overhead and opened fire on crowds, injuring dozens. Now, as it was stated here, there were shots, but they at least Israel and Western media very much are just saying like, oh, these were just warning shots. But people got injured, so I'm not sure how much of a warning shot that is. Like, if you hit someone, I don't think that's a warning shot. I think you just shot them. According to the Gaza Health Ministry, at least 1 Palestinian was killed and 48 others wounded. GHF claimed its military contractors had not fired onto the crowd, but fell back before resuming operations. The Israeli military claimed its forces had only fired warning shots. Just warning shots, guys. You saw that person that we shot, that we killed? That was just a warning shot. Next time we'll kill a bunch of you. That was just a warning, though. Salam managed to trudge back carrying the aid parcels on his back to reach his family, a 2-hour journey. He said his family was overjoyed when he returned with some food. We want the aid to continue, but the method was humiliating and chaotic, and the journey was too long. We need the food to reach us through international organizations, not to walk long distances under dire conditions just to get it. Okay, so like, I guess this is where the site was held for the humanitarian aid, and this is where like they live. And yeah, it's tedious for no reason. They put it in like the middle of fucking nowhere. Another man also arrived at the aid distribution center, but it was just like, yeah, like this entire, like the way that they process all this, the way this is entirely being processed is fucking disgusting. U.S. President Donald Trump and Secretary of State Marco Rubio support bold and out-of-the-box efforts to make life better for the people of Gaza, said a senior Trump administration official. No, they don't. This is just like one part of their plan to finish what they started, to displace as many Palestinians as they could, to corral them all together to finish what Netanyahu has started. And if Trump wants to talk about like out of the box efforts or ideas, this is definitely one. This is what Trump has in mind for Gaza, so maybe he shouldn't be, you know, the leading figurehead of what's going to happen. Obviously this came like months ago. I remember when this like originally popped up. It's just so fucking weird. Yeah, this is what Trump wants. Maybe with less Elon Musk though, you know. Maybe with you know, some less Elon Musks in Gaza. This is what he wants. It's just so fucking gross. But, you know, that's a topic for another time. Yeah, as we see here, just fucking disgusting. Just like fucking corralling them all in like this, in these lines. Just, I don't understand how people can see this and not be disgusted at this point. Like, if this is something that like doesn't disgust the living fuck out of you, I don't know what that says about you as a person. Like, literally. And that's also the thing too, is as they say here in this like little part right here, Israel has said an alternative to the current aid system is needed to stop Hamas dealing aid, which the group denies doing. And as we see here from Mohammed Shihadad, Israel admits none, zero, of the 110 aid-eluding instances its army recorded were carried out by Hamas. Rather, it was done by armed gangs and organized clans. Those are the very Israel-backed criminal gangs that operate with full IDF protection. And this is very much true. There are gangs in Gaza that work with the IDF, and they are the ones who steal this shit, not Hamas. The theft is literally done essentially by the IDF themselves through a third party. It is fucking disgusting. So like even then they admit that their alternative is not needed. But the reason why they are doing this, even though they know it's not Hamas that's doing it, it's essentially them, is because this is a way for them to control the Palestinian population. And you know this plan was bad because the fucking head of the group resigned before this even went underway. Before this plan really got started, the head of the group, the head of the program, literally quit. Like what it says here, the head of a new aid distribution program for Gaza, backed up by the US and Israel, resigned on Sunday after weeks of controversy, citing concerns over impartiality and urging Israel to allow more aid into the blockade enclave. On Monday, the group said it began operations in Gaza. However, it is not yet clear whether the aid has reached civilians. This was from some time ago, even though it was updated a few days ago. But he was like, yeah, this is not a good plan. And he literally had to leave because he realized how not good of a plan it was, and that with him or without him, this plan was going to get carried out regardless. But it's just completely fucking disgusting how this was being handled. And speaking of disgusting ways to quote-unquote aid Gazans, here we have Ethan Klein. Well, not here. This is obviously bad empanada, but Ethan Klein has found himself in a very disgusting situation that he has seemingly not been willing to look, really look on his actions. Has not been able to really consider what he has done, but I'm gonna let Bad Empanada explain what exactly went down.
So this might be the worst thing that I've seen the H3 podcast do so far, and that's obviously saying a lot. They are scamming people into donating for Palestine, except it's not actually donations for Palestine. It's not donating to a charity like the UNRWA or the PCRF or something like that. No, it's donations for Palestine that they are soliciting, which go to a pro-Israel propaganda organization. So in that podcast episode from today, Ethan Klein had a talk with Ahmad Fouad Al-Khatib, who is this pro-Israel Palestinian who says, Palestinians are at fault for all of their own misery. Israel does nothing wrong. And he
is literally just, he's exactly what Ethan calls Matt Lieb. He calls Matt Lieb like a token Jew for the pro-Palestinian cause. But this is literally what this guy is. That's literally what this guy is. He is a token Palestinian who is pro-Israel, who is a Zionist. So in the same way that Ethan Klein called Jewish Voice for Peace capos, essentially Jews who worked alongside Nazi Germany, that's what this guy is doing. He literally works for a Zionist org and was able to get Ethan Klein's fans to contribute to his group, to his Zionist group. Is utterly disgusting.
Works for the Atlantic Council propaganda organization. He's basically the one guy who these Israelis prop up as that token, look, a Palestinian who agrees with us sort of guy. So he always does the rounds. It seems like they can't find any other. But this video isn't about that. I'll probably be covering that on my stream this week. This video is about something that's even worse than that, if you can believe it. There's a part of this stream, timestamped and called Donate to Palestine, in which Ahmed solicits donations for a project of the Atlantic Council, which is explicitly actually pro-Israel. And Ethan Klein is calling it Donate to Palestine. And Ahmed himself also tried to imply this was donations for Palestine, rather than literally just throwing your money at a fucking pro-Israel think tank / propaganda organization. So here's that segment. See, Donate to Palestine. What's he got to say? Let's check it out.
As I work at the Atlantic Council, where I am a resident senior fellow, but also I run Realigned for Palestine through the Atlantic Council, and I have we have our own standalone website, realignedforpalestine.org. There is a donate button, and so you're certainly folks can donate there, but also I would encourage folks to consider the World Food Program has a Gaza Appeals page that is dedicated just for here I'm going to give you the page that is dedicated
So you can see here that Ahmad Fouad al-Khatib recommends donating to his own personal vanity page on the Atlantic Council website before he even mentions an actual organization that does something for Palestinians, the World Food Program. He sort of phrases them like they're the same thing.
For sending food just for Gaza. And they are incredibly capable.
Oh, that's great. That's the world.
Yes, sir, I just dropped it.
So send us both links so we can put them in the description.
Okay. I sent this.
Check out Ahmed's org Realign for Palestine here. It's linked in the description. So let's go to the Realign for Palestine website. This is a website that's literally just pro-Israel talking points, anti-Palestinian talking points, set up to like masquerade as a pro-Palestinian website. And front and center, you go here, donate to the movement. You click it, donate today to stand with us in building a future rooted in hope and dignity. Each contribution strengthens the movement for peace and self-determination. You know, I notice this is not tax deductible. It's not donating to a charity. It's literally just sending your money to Ahmad Fouad al-Khatib and the Atlantic Council. And this is marked as Donate for Palestine. And it's in the description of the video. After 2 years, the stalwart pro-Palestinian Ethan Klein finally attempts to raise money for Palestine. And he sends it straight to a pro-Israel think tank. And it has like this thing of like quotes from Palestinians who support it. And they're all from fucking Ahmad Fouad al-Khatib. It's literally his personal vanity website in which he solicits donations for himself. This is disgusting. This is absolutely gross. This is foul. What more is there to say about this? This guy solicits donations for himself from people who think they are donating to Gaza. What more can you expect from a dirty, disgusting collaborator like him? And what more can you expect from Ethan Klein by doing...
Like, you couldn't think that he could reach a new low, but he does. Because he makes this seem like this is actually doing anything for Palestine. And while the food organization that this guy does bring up does do good, bringing up someone's like personal... almost like their Venmo, essentially. Like, you essentially brought someone's Venmo up and was just like, hey, give this guy money. It's for Palestine. It's not. And I wonder how much money this guy fucking got from that. How much money went to that guy instead of the actual, like, food organization. Because even though that was in the description, there is a good chance that more people would probably go to the guy's own personal page. And now Ethan did respond to this, but instead of responding with actual, like, any... personal examination of what he had done, he just decides to shit sling a bit.
Oh, actually, there's one thing I wanted to just hit on before. I wanted to send my condolences to our previous guest, Ahmed Fouad al-Khatib, who came on our show graciously and had a really... people connected with him. He was a fantastic guest. He's a Gazan refugee and advocate. And I donated $2,000, $1,000 to his charity and $1,000 to the Gazan Food Kitchen, which he suggested.
It's not a charity. It's his own fucking personal site.
And
still, even like not even able to like correct himself of being like, it's not a charity. It's like his own personal site. There's nothing to indicate that it even is a charity or that it's going to do anything for Palestine other than just give the guy money.
Hassan and Bad Empanada were immediately out to slander and ruin this man, which is just, the irony of that is just unbelievably thick. Because it's like, actually, you know what? Here's a dude from Gaza who's lost family members, who's actually trying to advocate and raise money. And literally, by the way, when you go back and look at how he's plugging the charities, the emphasis is greatly on the food one. I force him kind of to plug his, like he didn't even really offer it. His whole thing was like, donate to this food thing. And so you're not going to believe the shit that they're saying about him.
So, I mean, first of all, you're doing essentially what you criticize Hassan for doing and other pro-Palestinian activists for being like, oh, you put such a focus on like Jews being a big part of the pro-Palestinian movement. Well, you're just using them as tokens. That's what you're doing with this guy right now. Do you not realize that? The only difference is that you got one guy who is literally like a talking head for Zionist propaganda versus a bunch of Jewish people who just came to their own conclusions of being like, yeah, genociding people is bad and you shouldn't be doing it in the name of Judaism. Like, don't use my religion as a reason to kill a bunch of people. That's fucked up. But instead of seeing those people as actual human beings, you know, they don't have as much importance on the conversation as a literal propagandist. But secondly, so Ethan Klein was the one who said, like, no, bring up your own personal page. That's not a charity. You do realize that still doesn't make you look good, right? Now, we're not going to get into this whole thing. I think you can garner from that, like, first bit. Like, he hasn't, you know, he hasn't realized the mistake, or not even the mistake. He did this on purpose. And I think he's admitting that. Because despite the fact that he keeps calling, you know, the guy's personal site a charity, even though it's not a charity, I think that just shows that, like, either A, this is on purpose, or B, he's just too stupid to realize that he was wrong, and what he did was wrong, and that none of this, outside of the food stuff, is really gonna help Palestinians in general. It's just completely fucking disgusting. But yeah, obviously, you know, just two examples of, like, weird. Now, this obviously has, like, real world implications on it. You know, a failed Israel, US backed, you know, distribution aid group completely failing, completely just operating in the worst way possible, and then some fucking internet troll just trying to scam his fans out of money by, you know, allowing them to just give money to a pro-Israel propagandist. Like, obviously this is different, but at the same time, it's like still both, like, even in the real world and in the online space, we still have two fucking weirdo groups doing the absolute worst they can in the name of trying to help Gazans when that's not what they're trying to do at all. It's just completely fucking gross. Hello everyone, thank you for watching today's video. If you would like to see more videos like this, please leave a like and subscribe down below. If you would like to check out my gaming videos, you can follow me at Fruity Store Gaming. And if you'd like to check out my podcast where I talk about anime, comics, movies, video games, and even pro wrestling, you can follow me at The Fruit Basket. But that's all I had to say for today. I'd like to thank you all for watching once again, and I will see you next time.